Who is your Rabshakeh? What even is a Rabshakeh? The Rabshakeh was the leader of the Syrian army who had stormed through the land, destroying people, destroying villages. This army was known for its ruthlessness, endless cruelty. They were just merciless. And the Rabshakeh and his army showed up on the doorstep of King Hezekiah, threatening to do the same to them, right outside the city walls. And so the people could hear all these threats coming from the Rabshakehs. He's just breathed out these murderous threats, what they were going to do. Warfare, siege, whatever it took to destroy their enemy. The people listening that day, they heard these threats as Rabshakeh told them they better not put their hope in military might and strength, because that hadn't worked for anybody that went before, and it wasn't going to work for them either. In fact, he said, I could give you 2,000 war horses. You wouldn't even be able to put enough men on them to counterattack us. He said, don't put your hope in God, because what good has that done to the people we've already conquered on our way to your doorstep? He even turned the people against one another. As the king's messenger said, speak to us your threats, at least in a language that only we can understand, and not the people around us. And the Rabshakeh said, no, I want them to hear, because it's their lives that you're putting at stake with your decisions. I don't want them to put their false hope in what the king may tell them. The Rabshakeh did everything he could to tear down the inner resolve and strength and fortitude of the people that he was threatening, because he wanted them to give in, to quit. And you might be thinking, well, I don't have a Rabshakeh in my life. But don't you? I mean, whether it's an enemy and somebody who actually wants something harm for you, or sometimes, let's be honest, it's frenemies, people in our family or friends that we would like to be on our side or officially on our side, but aren't always working to our benefit or on our behalf. Sometimes it could come from any direction. It could even come from inside of you. If you've taken on messages from your culture, you just have these fears inside of you. Let me tell you one that I think a lot of people do have. I think many people find themselves caught up in what feels like a treadmill of work, trying to make enough money, trying to get ahead, trying to succeed. And that's all fine, but when does it end? And I think many of us are filled with a sense that something is not right at a very deep level. But how do I get off the treadmill? How do I get out of the rat race? And I don't know. But there's a fear with that. If I stop chugging along, we could fall behind. Then that will lead to this, that will lead to that, and that will lead to some sort of catastrophe or destruction. And so we never deal directly with it. We never put down on paper, this is what I'm afraid of. Instead, we kind of sidestep the issue or just don't really deal with it or try to deal with it obliquely. But maybe it's better to really think, what am I afraid of? And all of its horribleness, to deal with it directly. There is a Rabshakeh in your life. Maybe it's not that, maybe it's something else. But who is your Rabshakeh? Secondly, what are you going to do that will give root to your courage to stand up to your Rabshakeh? It's good enough to say, well, just be positive, just wishful thinking or positivity. But that would not have been enough for the king listening to the Rabshakeh's message that day. He would have had to have something deep down inside, rooted, bolted to the ground, that would give his courage the force that it needed to oppose the force that the Rabshakeh was coming up against him with, and all of its reality and all of its horridness. There's got to be something so deep, it's just bolted in. Question for today: who is your Rabshakeh?